This video is about the pinwheel block in the Origins Homestead Quilt. Okay, in step one, we are going to start assembling these triangles. You want to count out the number required to make a certain number of pinwheels because they are different. There's a variety of them in this pattern. So count out the number you need for this first step. Otherwise, you may, start sewing and you end up sewing too many of this one and then you have to rip out. So count them first and then sew. And again, you're sewing a bias edge here, so you want to be careful that you're not pulling on the fabric because that bias edge will stretch. Okay, so I've just finished chain piecing all of these triangles together, and now I'm going to clip them apart. And one thing I'm doing is I'm making sure that the blue fabric is on top right now because I want them all oriented the same way, because I'm going to press next, and I'm going to press toward the blue, and I want them all to be ready to go. It just sort of expedites the process. So if one is upside down like this one, I will flip it at this point and turn it so they're all oriented the same direction. You'll see in a second here. Okay, here. So if I'm at a pressing station right here and I want to press toward the blue, you see how every one that I grab, it's the same, so I don't have to flip them or turn them. I just grab them and press them. Okay, now we're at step 2, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did, but we're switching out one of the gray fabrics for this light gray dot. Okay, we're at step 3, and we are going to take these square units and assemble them into a pinwheel. And I like to lay the pinwheel out so that it's oriented the way it shows in the picture, in the pattern. And right here I just went, wait a minute. So have your pattern available to reference. So here we have the layout of the first pinwheel, and you'll notice that if you turn the bottom half the other way, that the pieces are identical. So I am going to go ahead and chain piece these units together just to make a little bit speedier go of this. However, I do recommend sewing the first block, measuring it, and then chain piecing, so that just avoids problems in case your seam allowance is a little too big or too narrow. So here I'm just going to share a little tip. You see how when you go to press these and you're trying to get them apart, sometimes they're kind of hard to grab. So I've discovered if you grab that seam and open it and then go to press it, that seam makes it it's a great handle. So just a little side tip. Okay, so now we're going to sew the last seam of this pinwheel. I'm grabbing about half the stack, turning it so that they're oriented properly for the pinwheel, And now I am going to start sewing that final seam. And again, what I'm doing here is nesting that the seams so that they line up. You can absolutely pin if you want to pin, and I go in right where that point is of the pinwheel at the center point, and then I go in where the center point is on the next one, and then I snuggle those seams and finish pinning. Of course, you want to stop before the pin, pull it out. I go right up to it, close as I can. There is a bit of bulk there. There we go. So this one I have not pinned, and after you've sewn enough of these, you might feel comfortable not pinning it. But I peeked inside there just to make sure those points were lined up. So I finished this first pile of pinwheels, and you can see the points turned out very nicely, and I'm also showing here how the pressing goes, and the final seam is pressed open. And here I'm just going to share another little side tip. So when it comes to pressing that seam open, and this I just kind of discovered just by doing them, is that if I press next to that big seam at the end and get the other seams nice and flat, and I don't know, I think it kind of warms up the that middle seam, and then I finger press it open rather than trying to press it with the iron. Finger press it open first, and then I go in with the iron and press. And this gives me the best result. It seems like it's maybe an extra step, but it actually goes faster than if I try and go in with the hot iron right away and separate that. And maybe I need a better iron, I don't know, but this is my method. And it's what works for me, so I just thought I'd share. There you go. I just have a dry iron, no steam. So that's how I do it. So this is the next set of triangles. Yeah, it is the next set of triangles and the next set of pinwheels. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing again with you. They're done exactly the same as what we just did. So here we have the layout for the big pinwheel block. This would be block A in the pattern, and I just want to lay it out, get the orientation of the pinwheels correct, and then stitch them together. So now I have all the horizontal rows sewn. Here I'm just showing you how the pressing, I'm pressing in opposite directions. So once again, when I go to sew these together, they will nest nicely and lay flat. So here is the finished block A. Now there's a block B, a block C, and a block D that are all pinwheels like this, but they're different colors, different orientations. So you'll just have to pay attention to the pattern as you go, and you'll get them all right. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for being here and for purchasing my pattern.